welcome to This is a Revolution, your weekly episode of all things Rev Pro. Here on Easter Monday morning recording, I'm joined by Mr. Dave the Mark. Mr. Mark, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. All good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very tired. I've just got in the door from Doncaster about 15-20 minutes ago, maybe.
Your 5 a.m. get up?
No, I got up at 4 a.m. to make sure I was awake enough to drive for 5 a.m. And then get back so that I can do this fine podcast with you before I wrap everything up to go on holiday. So, and I knew that if I didn't leave early and if I cut it fine, then I was going to miss my transportation to the airport. So you know what, Dave? I'm going to obviously try and keep the energy up, but if at any point I say less, don't hold it against me.
I love that. 2J Joshua t-shirts, completely random. I just threw on the first t-shirt that I had next to my bed when I got up this morning from my little pile that I've not put away yet. Do you know what? Your long journey to Doncaster, I was reminded once again that I really do live in the centre of the Rev Pro circuit.
Oh, you do, mate.
Like, genuinely, I live 2 to 2.5 hours away from everywhere.
Perfect.
Literally everywhere. Whether it's Doncaster or whether it's Southampton, whether it's Cardiff or whether it's Norfolk. Like, I'm literally, like, bang in the centre of everything Yorkshire downwards. Like, as long as I don't start running shows in Newcastle, I'll be all right.
Yeah. That is a nice little drive for you then, isn't it? Because like you said, I know when we're driving up and I see the signs for your area and it's like, I've already been driving hour and a half, 2 hours at this point. It's like, you've got it good, my friend. It means you don't have to worry about the things like booking a hotel for the evening, all of that sort of stuff.
I've got a hotel for Crystal Palace and that's it. Just because it's 2 nights and I got a really, really cheap hotel. So I think for like 60 quid, I've got a night in a hotel rather than doing 2.5 hours home and 2.5 hours back the next day, which is probably 50 quid worth of petrol. So probably works out like financially absolutely fine, and means I get to go out and have a non-alcoholic beer after the show and chill out, get breakfast the next day, that sort of thing.
Yeah, man, I love that. We booked a hotel because I was going to do the same thing. I was going to get the train home, get the train in the morning. I thought the price that we pay for the trains now, like, might as well just stay up overnight. And if a train gets cancelled and we miss the second day or anything like that, so we're doing 2 nights. We're going up. I think we're going up the night before, and then we're there the whole time. So really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to it. But mate, before
we rate high stakes, mate. Quick word. How's your Wrestlemania week been?
Do you know what, mate? I've not watched anywhere near as much wrestling as I expected to this week. So I expected to watch quite a lot or have it on in the background, but I think because of the times of shows and stuff and getting things ready for holiday and stuff like that, I've not. But to be fair, I watched 2 shows in full. Regretted both of those. That was Defy and Progress. I didn't think they were very good shows at all. I thought the matches that I thought were pretty good were the Michael Okou matches. I thought the Manders match at Progress, not bad, but not everyone else in the match hit it for me. We know how great Manders is, but the other guys, no, not so much. But yeah, Okou and Jacob steal the show. Shock, horror. And Michael Okou versus Evil was really, really odd to see as well. Like a match that I just did not ever expect to happen.
And like last year, you watched pretty much everything, right?
I watched a lot last year, but this year I had all the intention of doing it this year. But
so we've swapped.
Yeah.
Because last year I didn't watch anything, like literally nothing. I didn't watch WrestleMania. I watched the Dynamite and Collision that were that week because I watch AEW every week. And I didn't watch any of the indie stuff because I've always found it difficult to just turn on a show that I've got no investment in and expect to enjoy it. Whereas this year, I've gone fully the other way. I've been watching Raw and SmackDown and NXT. So I watched Stand and Deliver. I've watched WrestleMania Night 1. I'm going to watch WrestleMania Night 2 after this.
Yeah.
I watched Progress for the first time in 5 years. I watched a Progress show from start to finish. I watched Defy. I watched Bloodsport. I watched, and then I picked bits. So I watched Manders and Zack Sabre Jr. from Joey Janela's Spring Break.
I might watch that tonight.
And little bits like that, and it was like there was plenty of things that I've enjoyed throughout the week. Not necessarily like being blown away by any like there's sadly no like indie show has converted me. Although I will say I am now a full WXW convert, having gone back and watched 16 Karat Gold, and I'm now really looking forward to Manders versus Elijah Bloom in a Texas Death Match,
that'd be
which
good.
is announced for their next show. So yeah, right, really, that's probably my biggest takeaway. A couple of, if you're listening and you want to pick and choose some really good matches from Mania week, I'd recommend Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jonathan Gresham at Bloodsport. That's probably that's been my match of the week from the independent shows. But I think it was really interesting because I feel like AEW delivered the best Dynamite they've delivered in a long time this week for me. And then we've got, I thought the NXT Stand and Deliver was really, like, given NXT as a developmental product, was like a really good show that they put on. I absolutely adored WrestleMania Night 1. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania Night 2. And I genuinely believe, obviously I'm a massive mark, but from all the independent stuff I saw, Rev Pro's High Stakes yesterday was show of the week by a country mile. When you're looking at it, comparing it to Defy, to Progress, to Bloodsport, to Spring Break, like those shows, head and shoulders above for me.
I would agree. From the stuff that I've seen, this was definitely show of the week. I've only seen one match from WrestleMania, and fuck me, that's
it's not your cup of tea, mate, is it?
Mate, I'm gonna get on my soapbox. I think what it was, it's not even so much. I get that he's popular, but I think tapping Gunther is just one of those that I don't believe that Jey Uso should ever have been champion before Sami Zayn, because Sami Zayn got massive reactions as well, and I don't think a story of I'm beating him with his own moves is. Like, because they really hammered that point home. You're right. It's not my cup of tea.
There was a lot more to the match. I'll go the other way. I think there was a lot more to the match than beating each other with their own moves. I really liked the fact that he won, because I don't think that Jey Uso can beat Gunther with super kicks and Uso splashes.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Gunther as a competitive sportsman knows that when you are in a submission that you can't get out of, you just have to tap and just let it go. And that's what he did. And I liked the poetic side of Gunther choked Jimmy Uso out in front of Jey Uso, so Jey was determined to choke Gunther out, and Gunther didn't let him choke him out by tapping out. So it's almost like there's an element of Gunther still having the last laugh, because although he won his title, he didn't let Jey humble him.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I'm a massive Sami Zayn mark, so I completely get where you're coming from, that there was a mistake made previously in not strapping him when he was super hot. But I'm kind of seeing the Jey Uso thing as separate. The reactions that he gets, the fact that he is my little boy's favourite wrestler in the world, who, bear in mind, he knows nothing about wrestling 6 months ago, and has just started watching it and immediately has fallen in love with Rey Mysterio, Jey Uso, John Cena, until the John Cena turn. And even then, he still thinks it's really cool. but like Jey Uso is his guy, and it's like, well, fair play to him. Like the guy is, it's a bit like, and I find this quite a convenient comparison. I noticed David Francisco do a little yeet when he got in the ring yesterday. It was quite subtle, and I noticed it more because I happened to get a perfect photo where it's like one of those motion pictures, and you see the full yeet. I'd love to know how to gif it. But that's kind of a bit like Francisco, right? Like, Jey Uso has got completely over and gets reactions and is rewarded for it. Francisco, whether it's fuck Southampton or anyone but Francisco, or whether it is, you know, the home away from hometown hero, whether you love him or you hate him, he gets a reaction. And he's being rewarded with it. He's had main event matches, and he was the first person out at yesterday's show. That's significant for me.
Same. And I think he made a point as well, didn't he, of saying that whether you like him or hate him, there's never indifference. There's always a reaction.
No, absolutely.
And that, look,
I'll tell you what. Let's dive into that match. But before we do, out of 10, high stakes for you.
I'm gonna break my usual scale, and I'm gonna go half measures here. I'm gonna say a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I think, and look, I think I've mentioned this before to you. I think there is an element of where I was sat and the card, what was delivered, value for money wise. I'm gonna caveat that. I think that has impacted me a little bit.
Now that is very interesting. How much did you pay for your ticket?
Yeah, £170.
170.
Yeah.
And you were sat front row.
Yes.
You did get your Mercedes Monet impromptu.
I did, which you know what I said at the end, that bumped it up quite a lot for me. Like in terms of the value for money side, that bumped up a lot. But
yeah, I do think that everyone who paid a premium to sit down there kind of got a little bit back.
Yeah,
and whether that was a conscious decision from, I had no idea. It felt very genuine that Mercedes just wanted to meet her British fans.
Oh, absolutely, because she went back round and did another lap afterwards.
I was so impressed by just how much she gave to Rev Pro yesterday.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah,
you know, we've seen American big name stars come over and do their thing and leave, and she did the complete opposite.
Yeah,
like the fact that, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, like at the end of her match, she went round the entire front row, taking photos with every single wrestler, signing people stuff, and she did the loop. Amazing. It probably took 5-6 minutes, and then she went back and she did it again. And genuinely, she didn't leave until after I'd watched her do her first 2 loops from the stand. Then I went down and bought my my Charlie Evans t-shirt, got Charlie Evans' photo, met Serena Deeb, got her to sign my book, got a photo with her, and then I heard the cheer of Mercedes leaving.
Yeah.
That genuinely, that must have been 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yeah, so because I was round the side, because I got a video, and I was like, I can't crop a good picture from this at this stage. And like, I love the video, don't get me wrong. So I was like, I'm going to be cheeky and try and get a picture down there as well. And I was literally right on the end, and she pointed at me, and I thought, oh, fuck, she's calling me out here, as if to say, she went, you're going to be my last one. I was like, amazing, like, works for me.
I love that.
And then,
but you know, she was so good
back down the road.
Like, I watched her. I wasn't going to go. I didn't want to go down and join in. I just observed. I kind of looked at it as, you guys all paid a lot of money for your ticket, so you deserve to have that moment. I paid 40 quid for my ticket. I'm not gonna push my way in. But so I got to see her interact with all these people, and she just interacted, like, everybody got her biggest smile, her most genuine kind of like, moment.
She was
none
lovely.
of it looked like someone being put out in any way.
No.
It was like the only time I've seen it ever, Rev Pro shows, is Osprey at the first Copper Box.
Mm-hmm.
Did something similar. In fact, it might not have been the first Copper Box. I think it was the Copper Box for Royal Quest.
Okay, yeah.
When he wrestled Zack Sabre Jr. Yeah.
Yeah, she was so lovely.
I'm going to go higher than you, mate, but I'm also going to do a half star. So I'm thinking about the fact that my level is kind of, every Rev Pro show is like a 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a slightly flatter show, it drops to a 6. I've never rated anything less than a 6. I've never been to a Rev Pro show where if it's a 5, I kind of feel like, was that worth my time? And I've never left a Rev Pro show, whether it's St. Neots or whether it's, the Copper Box. I've never left a show thinking that weren't worth 3 hours of my day, or sometimes it's fucking 10 hours of my day with the travel and everything else. So I've never gone lower than a 5.
Mm-hmm.
I've never gone. Have I ever done a 10 in my head? No, I haven't. I've got to like the 9.5s.
Yeah.
But 10 for me, I'm not like a Meltzer in the sense that for me it's like the top is something completely perfect. You wouldn't change a detail. You wouldn't change a thing. And I've never got there. I've got to like 9.5, so like high stakes 2022.
Yeah.
Was like a 9.5. For me yesterday it was an 8.5.
Yeah, fair.
I think that holistically there was one match that I thought didn't work as well as I wanted it to, and I think was probably the low point of the show.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 top end matches are all we're going to remember from the show in terms of like they were proper quality pro wrestling at its best, and the other matches were all very entertaining, very enjoyable. I wasn't bored. I didn't lose focus. I was invested. I cared about the results. I thoroughly enjoyed it and had a couple of matches of the year, like nominations coming out of it.
Yeah, I get that completely.
That's as high. That's enough for an 8.5 from me.
Yeah, so for me, it was very much a show of 2 halves, and I'm putting the second half as starting with the women's gauntlet match. So, women's gauntlet match onwards, I thought was very, very good. The first half, that run of first 3 matches, I won't lie, I was coming away a little bit unenthused by the majority of it.
Now that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So let's look at it in your. Can we look at it as a show of 3/3?
Yeah.
In the sense that we'll have the first 3 matches as the first third.
Yeah.
The women's gauntlet as its own little third.
Yeah.
And there'll be a reason for that. And then the top 3 matches as the final third.
Yeah, of course, mate. Yeah. So
talk to me about the first third. We opened with the 6-person scramble.
Yeah.
So Zazaya, Jay Joshua, Robbie X, David Francisco, JJ Gal, Stephen Wolf.
Yeah.
That went into Ricky Knight Jr. versus Donovan Djack, and that went into Will Caven versus Leo Rush.
It did, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the scramble match, I think I said to you that the options that I say options because that's not a fair word, but the direction it looked like we were going into with Jay Joshua and Zazaya was always that was a more fascinating option to me than the scramble match. I felt that the scramble match seemed and looked fine, but it seemed to be a way to get everyone on the card.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like to me. It didn't feel like there's any stakes to the match, like going into it. So that kind of normally with Scramble matches, it's either a number one contendership or a title on the line. At its best, the guys, it was a very spot heavy match at its best, which is to be expected in a Scramble match, right? Like that's in those kind of matches, you're not going to be able to employ like the kind of psychology needed to like get an epic, right? And that's fine. Like I'm not judging them harshly on that, but it was a case of when it was high, I enjoyed it, but it felt, I don't know, there just felt a bit of a disconnect with me with it. I just didn't understand the purpose of it, if I'm honest. And I know there's a few different stories going into it, and I felt, to give them kind of the credit, I felt like this is going to branch off into Zaya J Joshua, because when they got in one-on-one, I was interested. That's when I was interested.
Yeah.
When they dropped out, look, Robbie was doing Robbie things. Robbie is great. Like I love Robbie, but I want something really substantial for him. It feels like in a minute Robbie's just again coming out of that triple threat epic count. It feels like Robbie's floating a bit. I want something really meaty, really story driven for Robbie. I think that could be really great.
I agree. He feels a little bit like a star attraction at the moment.
Yeah.
Like they're able to get the rub off of Bullet Club from him.
Yeah.
Gets even bigger reactions than ever before. Now he's got the Bullet Club War Dogs music.
Yeah, and he's clearly reveling
and he's
in
wrestling. I think he's wrestling the best wrestling I've ever seen him wrestle.
Yeah, I would agree, because he's got a bit more freedom. He's got a bit more freedom with his style now. But I'm not that he didn't before, but he is so good at reveling in this character he's playing. And you know what? I don't know Robbie X, but I don't know how naturally it comes to him.
Out and out heel.
Yeah. He's just
cocky and arrogant, which is absolutely okay, because we actually quite warm to cocky and arrogant people in wrestling.
Yeah. They've got that extra snap, extra bit of harder strikes, all that. And some of the stuff I've seen him doing, like, I don't ever recall seeing him do. Like, there was some stuff here, I was like, great, but just give it some, want some meaning for Robbie to, like, coming out of this. This really seemed to centre around, at the end, David Francisco and JJ Gale. Yeah. And I think for me, this was just one of those ones that could be played out at Southampton, London, those kind of shows. Yeah. Whereas the thing that I would have preferred, and this is not we'll get into the Triple H, just be fans, don't be critics, and try and work everything out. But when you are being presented with the potential of something, this just kind of didn't hit it for me. It was a decent way to start the show. We've shown that multi-man matches can work. The CPF trios match at Epic Encounter was one where I was going, cool. Like, that was the right decision. Going into it, I didn't think it was. This one, I'm not going to say it's the wrong decision, because there was loads of people who loved it, right? Just for me, it didn't land as much as
you wanted. Jay Joshua versus Zaya, right?
Yeah, I did. And you know what? I think part. So here's the thing as well, right? We know Stephen.
And just to clarify, that's not you saying I wanted Jay Joshua versus Zaya and I wasn't given it, so therefore I didn't enjoy this match. Rev Pro teased us Jay Joshua versus Zaya.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like you're just sitting there plucking that out of thin air, like being a spoiled fan. We were teased Jay Joshua versus Zaya, and we got given this instead with the view that Jay Joshua versus Zaya will happen.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I want to kind of add to this as well, like, I'm very, like, I've said that I've been around Brit Rest on and off for a long time. This would have been a match that 20 years ago would have main evented because of how good everyone in it is. Like, they would have been the anomalies. 3 years ago, this would have been one of the better matches on the show, and I probably wouldn't be sounding as down. I don't mean to sound as down on it, but that's because the level of storytelling now that Rev Pro are employing, because of all the shows they've got, has meant the bar has risen. So it now would be bang a match isn't enough, or high spots isn't always enough. And I think as well, when you look at it, it's kind of Robbie feels a little bit directionless, like in terms of story, like it's the star attraction. So I was like, well, Robbie's probably not winning this. Stephen Wolf, we know, is off to America again, like at the end of the week. So it's like, well, he's not going to win this. So like you kind of then cutting down the jeopardy a little bit, and so
And
then
it's like playing devil's advocate, like how much jeopardy is there when there's no stakes behind the winner?
that's kind of what I mean,
So
mate.
there is
Yeah, like
I don't know, I didn't know who was going to win that match,
yeah,
but how much do I care who's going to win that match when there isn't something, especially on a show called High Stakes?
yeah.
So I'm going to present to you a couple of things, mate.
Go for it.
Would you have enjoyed this match more if, one, there was a stake, the winner gets a title shot in whatever division they qualify for? If you're a cruiserweight, you can have a cruiserweight title, or you can go up to a heavyweight title because you can fight above your weight. If you're a heavyweight, you get a heavyweight title shot. And then we get that on a Sheffield show, a Southampton show. Southampton have had a title match. I don't remember Sheffield ever having an undisputed British Heavyweight Championship match. I mean, I'm literally thinking about that for the first time, but my memory's pretty good, and I can't think of one.
No, I can't either, mate.
Would you also have enjoyed it more if they had not teased Jay Joshua and Zazaya until yesterday? So
Do you know what?
yesterday, you're getting those teasers for the first time where you're like, oh, I really want to see that match now coming out of this rather than going into it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you the answer to those and present another thing that I think would have made this a bit more enjoyable. One, yes, the teasers about Jay Joshua and Desire. I feel like if that was done now, coming out of it, yeah, I probably would have enjoyed this more. Two, if there were some actual stakes to this match, yeah, again, because like I said, I hate because I sound like you Jim Cornette, your Eric Bischoff and Bully Rays when I say this, but now I don't just want banger matches for the sake of banger matches. I want the story. I want the stuff that goes alongside it because Rev Pro has got so good at doing that. And look, I know there is some story elements coming into this. The story element is Jay Joshua attacks Desire. The story element is Dave Francisco and JJ Gale, and they've just been smoshed together.
That doesn't justify the decision to book the match, does it? That's just here's an opportunity to extend the story.
And I wonder if this would have felt better if they'd done something. And I know maybe the payoff is getting JJ to team with Dave Francisco, but maybe have Desire and Jay Joshua as one match, and then some combination of could you have Stephen Wolf and JJ Gale versus Robbie X and Dave Francisco, but actually David does something that ends up costing his team the win because he's trying to protect JJ.
Again, I'm going to back you up on your thought here. The show length was no longer than an average 229 or an average Southampton show. It was 3 hours something on the Rev Pro on demand live stream. 3 hours something. And there were certainly some matches on this card that could have had 5 minutes taken off them.
Yeah, and look,
that's where you get the 8th match if you wanted to go down that route. Or not everybody has to be on the card. You do Jay Joshua and Zazaya, and you save Francisco and JJ Gale for Saturday in the 229.
Yeah, and that's
One
it. It's
thing
just
that I really, really hope they don't book Jay Joshua versus Zazaya for London on Sunday.
So do I, mate, because I won't be there.
This isn't a first time ever match.
Yeah.
We saw Jay Joshua versus Zazaya last year. It was brilliant, so I want to see it again.
Elevated.
It was in London and it was at the 229.
Yeah.
It's got to go somewhere else now.
Yeah.
It's got to be in Southampton, or it's got to be in Coventry, or it's got to be in Sheffield, because otherwise you're just having the same fans witness the same matches. And to get the guys even more over and to get basically show these crowds that each town is as important as the other. That's my philosophy on that at the moment. I enjoyed the match more than you did by the sounds of it, but I did kind of take it for what it was.
Yeah.
And I could very much see the fact that there are probably more people tuning into Rev Pro on Demand than ever before for this show.
Yeah.
I got DMs last week from people literally all over the world asking me what time it started, including somebody in China. So you've got, here's a chance to go out and be like, this is Rev Pro, here's a banger, and here's lots of Rev Pro regulars. My only question is that what you want to show people that Rev Pro is?
Do you know what,
do you want to show them a no stakes banger, or do you want to show them here's two of our best going toe to toe for 12 minutes?
I do think there is something to be said about, what do I use, the word chaotic matches, right, where there's just lots going on, right? Attack of the senses. I think for someone who is like, if someone's experience might be WWE, but they're trying something different because they've watched Mercedes when she was Sasha Banks and they're watching because of her, this might be something different that sticks with them. There's a lot of guys who all look very different from different parts of the world as well. So like there's a lot of stuff going on there. So
I watched a lot of matches like this last week on the American indie shows in Las Vegas. So there's a lot out there like this, but this was the best one of those matches.
This was the, I was going to say, the quality will have been a lot better.
Yeah,
I can guarantee that.
We've probably sounded really negative on that, more so than we normally are. But I think, so for me, I will kind of end it with the fact that I completely understand that I am just one person's viewpoint, because all the people that were sat around me, and I you know me, I ADHD, I pick up on everything. I could hear every person's conversation around me. I got the feeling there were a lot of like casual fans around me yesterday, lots of families, lots of people that were, you know, checking their phone to see what the card was, lots of people that were, you know, they didn't know the wrestlers by name, but were being like, oh, I want the guy in black to win, or I want the bald guy to win. Love the fact that the little girl behind me was telling her mum who she wanted to win, and she picked Francisco. And it literally made me laugh aloud, to the point where the mum probably thought, like, what's he laughing at? And they were all loving it.
Yeah.
They were absolutely buzzing off this match. So maybe this was a match for those people, rather than us.
And I think that's fair. Like, I think that's really fair. And like you said, like, I don't want to sound too negative on this. For my taste and what I was expecting, or what I thought we were getting to with the stories, not what I was expecting. But undoubtedly, I think this was a great way to start the show for those more casual people who are just getting into it.
MVP
like you said,
of the match?
This
boy, right?
I was going to say it has to be. He was everywhere.
For those listening listening rather than watching, we are both wearing Jay Joshua t-shirts. I think Jay looked and I will say this, I think everybody looked really good in this match, in the sense that everyone got their stuff in and did it well and executed it well. I just think Jay was like that. Fuck, this guy's like hits hard, like the oohs and the ahs. There was one headbutt he did that made me look away. It was like, oh my god, like he's just broken someone's face.
And you know what, as well, that's another thing, right? Sometimes I'm not the biggest fan of everyone gets their shit in kind of thing, right? And that goes whether it's AEW, whether it's WWE, whatever it is. But again, like, this was, like you said, and I like the way you said it, maybe this wasn't as much for us. And that's fine, because it doesn't all have to be for us.
So what about RKJ and Djack that followed it? Because that feels like a little bit more of a compromise. Here's an international dream match. Here's a big name that everybody knows against one of our boys. Here's which is quite a Rev Pro tradition. And here is two guys that they're not going to be doing the spotty stuff. They're going to be just like proper hard-hitting, strong style. Did this one not land for you as much either?
this is going to be where I'm probably going to sound the most negative on the whole pod, right? So I don't think this landed whatsoever for me. I feel that for me, having now seen a few of Djack's matches live, I feel that when he's got the athletic opponent, I'm not saying Ricky's not athletic, but the real super athletic, fast moving kind of
Robbie
guys.
X match, right? From
Robbie X, yeah.
By far the best Djack match I've seen.
Yeah, and I thought the Okou match was very good as well. But the Robbie X one is the one I was thinking when I was saying that. I think when he's got that kind of opponent, I think you get this great big man, little guy, speed versus giant kind of pairing. I didn't see enough. There wasn't enough differentiation, clash of styles, or anything here for me. RKJ again, it feels directionless to me. I just don't like. We said this a lot about RKJ, that I found him to be landing, like his matches and how they land with me, and whether I don't know whether it's the guys in the ring, I don't know whether it's the instruction they're giving of how to put the match together and whatnot. But there's been a lot which hasn't landed with me with his match as well. There's a consistency of, I didn't like the JJ Gale match at Epic Encounter because I felt it was the wrong kind of match for the story being told. But then conversely, I thought the Cameron Kai match at the 2 times wicked. I thought that was it worked really well for both guys. This one just did not land for me in any way, shape, or form. And I hate to say it, but at times I was bored by it. Like genuinely, genuinely was bored. And that's not. Look, I'm just, if I can, what's one? I know that a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Ricky. Okay, and I just want to get it very clear. Nothing to do with that at all.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, there is nothing to do with that, and I know it's the
wrestling that we're watching, not about the people. And for the record, I've got a huge amount of time for Ricky Knight Jr. He's always been bloody lovely to me, and I'm a firm believer in innocent until proven guilty and all that sort of malarkey.
Yeah, and I just kind of want to get that bit across, because there is a lot of people that by the reactions they give, you can tell from what they're like. He might not land for everyone, but there's still I don't know. There just still feels to be something out there. But anyway,
you know what match this one reminded me of?
What's that?
Minoru Suzuki versus Cara Noir from the Progress show last week.
Interesting.
And the reason it reminded me of that, I saw a lot of people really, really raving about that match, or being very positive about that match.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that the match was fine with a really hot finish. And the hot finish made the whole experience seem more positive, when actually, when I think about the match itself, it was the finish that got me interested. I wasn't that interested from minute 1 to minute 10. Yeah. And I felt like Ricky and Djack had a really good finish to this match. I really liked the finish. But I do feel like the first, it was, everything that they did was, I was enjoying it and I was watching it, and I wasn't getting bored or losing focus from it.
Yeah.
It was possibly the pacing of it.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like it was trying to go 100 miles an hour, but it felt like it was in the wrong gear and it was actually going 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, because the start of it was Ricky attacking Djack straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so it started hot. He didn't take his jacket off for about a third of the match because it was just brawling out there. So yeah, I think that's a really fair assessment to it. I think the finish, it was a great finish, absolute great finish, but it's a match that went 13 minutes and felt like it went longer than 13 minutes for me. So I think, like you said, actually a pacing issue might have been it here. So
maybe this is one where, had it been 10 minutes rather than 13, would have just been that little bit tighter, especially when Ricky's got the Kishi driver, because you hit that move and it's game over.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
Whether it's the first minute or the 13th minute.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I'm definitely much higher on the match than you are, but I'm not shocked at hearing a different perspective. I think it's probably a fair thing to say.
You mentioned that one of the matches in the first third was probably not as good as you thought it would be. Was it one of those two we've had already, or is it actually the next one?
No, we had no, and it wasn't the next one either.
Oh, is it not? Oh, interesting. Oh, I think I know which
so
one
we've definitely experienced the same show very differently.
Yeah, and look, I also think as well. Yeah.
At this point, I was I'm riding high on high stakes. Because also, although I've probably just said lots of things which sound, or we've just said lots of things which sound critical, I'm very much aware of the fact that we're talking about the undercard matches at the moment. We're building up to the big stuff. I'm a believer that I like the model of wrestling where each match gets that little bit longer, each match gets that little bit more exciting, each match builds so that you peak at the end of a show. That's my favourite. I think that's or you peak at the end of a half and then you do it again in the second half if it's a show of two halves. This one wasn't because we didn't take a break. We went all the way through. Caven versus Lio Rush. I very much enjoyed because I feel like they got the right result. I feel like they did it the right way. And I feel like there was jeopardy in the fact that I was not convinced either way who was winning. I knew what I thought should happen and I knew what I wanted to happen, but I wasn't convinced that that's how Rev Pro would book it.
Yeah.
I wanted Caven to win and I thought he should win, so I was really pleased with that. I wanted him to win by being a dick. I like the idea that he's holding this belt hostage. This title reign for me has loads more legs in it, and it should be real cathartic when someone takes the belt from him.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea that he defends it only when he's made to. I like the fact that he wrestles only when he's made to, and I liked all of that side of it. So yeah, I felt like after the first match, which was chaos.
Mm-hmm.
The second match, which was physical, this match offered another bit of variety.
Yeah.
So I liked that as well.
Agreed. Yeah,
so,
I would agree with that.
All positive from me on this.
Yeah, I thought this was perfectly fine. I thought the bits, I just love sitting there watching Lio Rush right. There was one bit where, in the space of me turning my head, he'd already outran me being able to turn my head. Right, like turn like that. Like he was already. I was like, wait, where the fuck has he gone now? Like the guy is just a pinball. Like
I will never get tired of watching him live.
No, and
I'll look forward to the next 10.
Yeah, I think that's my third or fourth time seeing him live, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was the right decision. We've spoken about this, that there's clearly a plan there. That I know Caven is everyone's cup of tea, and for a while he wasn't mine. And I don't mean that in the he's a bad guy, so he shouldn't be your cup of tea kind of way. I just mean generally, like he's not everyone's cup of tea. I know there's a lot of improvement I've seen from the guy. Giving him this belt has been great for that improvement. He's finding himself as a character. He's not feeling like a joke anymore. Like, there was a bit of that like weediness to him at one point. Now not so much. Looks like he's filling out a bit more. He looks confident when he parades around with a belt. Like there's a lot of the way he carries himself. So I think this reign has been
definitely making the man.
Absolutely, it's done really well for him. I do think depending on what happens with the other titles, that for me, I think I'd probably look around Revolution Rumble times, new champion. But what I think is important here, and they've done really well with Caven, is you can't keep relying on imports to be who you're building your guys, right? Because import comes over, well, I know X is going to win. I know this. We know Ricky's going to win because, like, what's the score? We know such and such. People will have that reaction. But you've built Caven up by giving him these wins, right? gradually, bit by bit, you've given him all these wins. I mean, he fucking won the title in a match that had Dante Martin in, right? So, like, names on the card. He's going over Lio Rush, like J-Cup winner, all of that sort of stuff builds the credibility so that when someone like a Nino Bryant, a Cameron Kai, a Leon Cage, if one of them was to win the title, boost up, because Caven's just won a match that had Robbie X and Stephen Wolf in as well, right? Yeah. So again, you boost those guys up. I mean, look, if it ends with someone like a Robbie X taking the title, I feel almost like that's a waste of, in some way, of the Caven reign, because yes, we're using it to build him up,
I'm with you,
but transfer that heat onto someone. Yeah, I think he's earned the ability to be able to transfer that onto someone. But yeah, like, it was, this one I thought was good. It was never going to set the world on fire, but at this stage, because the first two didn't hit as much for me, I'd have probably been, if this was first or second on the card, I'd have been like, yeah, not bad, like genuinely not bad. But I think at this point I needed something a bit more exciting for me, and this was perfectly good.
It was a very good execution of what it was designed to be.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that's the thing for me. This was never meant to be an insane, like, this was never meant to be the Nino Bryant versus Leon Cage match.
No, of course,
which we'll come to later. Like, this was meant to be, can Caven find a way to cheat his way out of Lio Rush? Can Lio Rush solve the problem of how do I fight a man who will do anything to keep his title? And I think for me, I want to keep that story going way beyond Revolution Rumble. I want to see this go until the end of the year. I just, for that to work, they need to find a balance between, Caven needs to come up with so many different ways to get out of winning a match.
Yeah, the low blow.
Thinking in how can he survive this time?
Yeah.
And I'd like them to involve True and Lacey in the process.
Yeah.
But then it needs to avoid the House of Torture, like, kind of stink.
Yeah.
You don't just want it to be, well, the match is going to be ruined by interference. So it's a difficult one for them to do exactly how I would like them to do it. But I feel like there is enough kind of good precedent. You know, don't go out and study House of Torture matches to see how this could work. Look at Undisputed Era from NXT. Look at how, you know, like, I've kind of got a bit of a mind blank for, like, good interference spots from matches, but, like, look at the stables that have done it well, or look at the cathartic moments and work your way backwards. You know, how did they build somebody up so well when they had to overcome a group of people? But so the one that didn't land for me was the gauntlet match.
Interesting, because that landed massively for me. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts first, actually.
So, and maybe, thinking about it, maybe this is where the people around me had an influence on me. There was kind of like a bit of a disconnect.
Okay.
With, you could feel people were ready for a break about halfway through this match.
Yeah, okay.
And how long did it go?
It went for, I want to say, 33 minutes. 31 and a half minutes.
Oh my lord.
It was the second longest match of the night.
Maybe that is where I felt that some of the gaps before the next wrestler came in were too long. And therefore it very much felt like wrestler A is going to do some spots with wrestler B before wrestler C comes in. then wrestlers B and C are going to do some spots before wrestler D comes in. Meanwhile, wrestlers A, B, and C are going to buy some time on the outside of the ring before wrestler F comes in, and it was just a bit. I felt like it just needed a little bit more producing in terms of what are you doing while they're doing this.
There could have been a bit of tightening up.
Eyes are on these guys. Where are you?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like that venue was really good for it. So, you know, like at the top of the stairs, there's a section up there, right?
Yeah, there is the balcony section.
And the Cutthroat Collective went up there, and then they had a bit where they were like loitering. They did it quite well. Lizzie, Mercedes, and Sapphire did this bit really well, where they were like skulking down the stairs, waiting for the guys in the ring to beat the crap out of each other and then seize.
Yeah.
But you could have had things like a couple of wrestlers brawling off through the curtain at the top.
Yeah.
And a couple of wrestlers brawling off in a different direction.
Yeah.
And it just be like, you just focus on keeping a scrap going. So anyone who's watching you is seeing a scrap, whilst everyone else is looking at what's going on in the ring. And if you miss something, I think this is something I'm a big believer in. If I'm choosing to watch the scrap over here between Sapphire Reed and Sky Smithson, and I miss the really cool spot that LA Taylor and Lizzie Evo have planned in the ring, so be it. It's not the end of the world. It's not like, oh my God, all of your focus should have been on what's on the ring, because otherwise you're going to miss the quality of the match. So no, just enjoy the sprawl. And it's, I remember AEW when they first did a big brawling multi-man match. Right at the start of Dynamite, can't tell you who was in it, can't tell you anything about it, other than the fact that I remember there was shit happening off camera. You could hear stuff. I'm sure at one point a table broke. And you're like, fuck, what is going on?
What's going on?
And it was chaos. And I like that. I think if it had been a bit shorter and there'd been a bit more going on for the people who were just kind of selling, I would have been more in the match. So I think that this was like a 6 out of 10. This one match.
That's really interesting,
For me, it was probably the match I was most excited for outside of the 2 championship matches going in. And I feel like it was the match that landed the lowest for me. But there's like my criticism. I really enjoyed the stuff between Sapphire Reed, Mercedes Blaze, and Lizzie Evo. I thought Lizzie Evo was the star of the match. Everything she did, I was just couldn't take my eyes off her. Absolutely loved the shit that comes out of her mouth. She is constantly chirping away, and it just entertains me immensely. I was so happy to see Charlie Evans in a Rev Pro ring again. And I thought that she looked awesome. Emerson Jane was a really nice surprise. We thought there'd be a surprise. It wasn't as big a name as I thought it might be as a surprise. But I tell you what, the people of Doncaster bloody loved Emerson Jane. Obviously the work that she does up and down the country for different indies, like, worked there for her. I liked, you said the other day about a women's tag league. And I was very much, I don't think this was on air, was it? It was just you and I talking about something?
Just texting back and forth.
And you said about a women's tag league this year, and I was like, I don't see that happening. And then, you know, there's the Experience, and there's Hyperactive, and there's the Cutthroat Collective, and we know we've got the potential for Medusa Complex, and suddenly you're like, and also like, you could just make a really fucking fun tag team just for the tournament. Like a Francisco and JJ Gao that's come out of, it hasn't come out of nowhere, but within a couple of shows, couple of story beats, boom, it's there. So there was loads I liked about it. Don't forget, I'm rating the show 8.5 out of 10.
Of course, sure,
So for this to be the lower point, it's not like nothing was a dud, nothing was a disaster. just wanted a little bit more thought behind why people were doing what they were doing when they weren't the focal point.
That's interesting, and this may be as well where, because we have two very different views in terms of proximity, that we may have different opinions on this match, because I've been at literally the same seat in the Dome on a number of occasions where you've got all these matches where something like a lot's going on around you, and because you are so close, you are taking one specific bit in, and you are able to give that your full attention. So when you were saying about spots being repeated in the ring, I had no idea what you were on about, because I did not even see like the reattempt at doing things, because I was watching what was going on right down here in front of me, or over here, or the girls going up the stairs, taking Serena Deeb and literally throwing her out into the balcony, like to get rid of her, like all of that sort of stuff. So I was concentrating so much on that. And so I think that's a really good point that you mentioned there, actually, that maybe if I watch this one back, I might have a different opinion to it. But and this is where I sound like I'm probably going to sound a bit what's the right? I can't even think of the word. I'm that tired. Not pedantic. Hypocritical. That's what I'm looking for. Please forgive me. 4 hours sleep. But I said at the beginning match, like, it was very banger spot heavy match. But this one had stakes and story unfolding with it, and that was the difference for me. I agreed on the timings, because they said will appear at random intervals, and I was like, now at first I was expecting random intervals to be code for we can't guarantee it'll be every 2 minutes, and we know people like to be pedantic in time everything. Okay, I thought that's what it was code for.
We know, you've got a very neurodivergent group of people that go to wrestling shows. We're two of them. Some people love to clock watch.
Yeah,
they like timing things. So
I'm just gonna say you sounded muffled. I'm gonna just say Dave's a clock watch. I'm just gonna say that. But yeah, and you know what? So I thought it was that, but then some of them were really quick, and some of them were so elongated, and I think that as well meant that you couldn't get this sense towards the end of whether someone else was coming out. Okay, so after the final entry, it was like, well, are we getting someone out? Like, should we expect someone? What is a reasonable amount of time? And then you kind of go, okay, no one else has come in. I love that.
For me, maybe it all just comes down to the fact that it was a little bit too long.
Yeah, maybe.
Because if you shortened it, the women wouldn't have had to be selling for as long as they were around the ring. And if you had the every minute or every 90 seconds somebody comes in, we would have a sense of knowing if somebody else was coming.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that you're right. And look, I'm going to hit the key points now, because I'm looking at the time and knowing what we've got to get through the next half hour. But I thought everyone, like, the story worked really well. I thought centering the story around the Cutthroat Collective was great. It gives them a bit of steam. I was very shocked Windsor wasn't in it. I know people were like, she's in Disneyland. I'm sorry, I thought Wrestler Gonna Wrestler and post pictures from a few days ago and somehow turn up. Didn't. That's fine. So I'm intrigued to see how that goes off. I'm intrigued to see what happens with Danny off the back of this, because you could only assume this is for a shot at the women's title.
And why wasn't that, like, it's high stakes?
Yeah.
The show's called High Stakes.
And I just presume...
Why is that not a canonised thing beforehand?
No, you're right. I just presumed it with it being the gauntlet, and normally these gauntlets are actually for a shot at a title.
We know Rev Pro. We watch Rev Pro more diligently and regularly than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
You know that Danny's not winning this match for no reason. They don't give stuff away for nothing. No. So something's going to come of this.
Yeah.
So why not have it be told beforehand?
That's a really good point, because
I think maybe that's one of the issues of having a champion where you can't lock them down to know when they're going to be there.
Yeah, and look, I think I just presumed that that's what was going to come out of this. Like many others, I think. The other bits I loved, Charlie Evans, first time seeing her in anything, she is cool as fuck. Like,
She's so cool.
Yeah, she's so cool, but she's so good. She's got this style that I'm seeing like bits of Millie McKenzie in there. I'm seeing bits of Danny Luna in there. I'm seeing bits of Rio in there. Like just this really well-rounded style, but has this
Charlie Evans
charisma.
versus Danny Luna is now one of my matches that like I must see.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you the only bit I wasn't keen on with the match, right? And it was what appeared to be a tease at Hyperactive. Okay. And I'm gonna wait and see how it plays out, okay? Because Hyperactive are not Rev Pro canon. Okay. Hyperactive is Anita Vaughan and Sapphire Reed as basically best friends, right? But in Rev Pro, they have always been on the opposite side. So depending on how this plays out, am I to believe in canon that Sapphire is conflicted because of what they do outside of Rev Pro? Or is this Sapphire thinking they've gone too far again, and it just happens to be Anita that is that person, which then forms the start of the canon of Hyperactive and Rev Pro? Now, I'm saying that
weird,
as
isn't it?
Yeah, which to be fair, I didn't think of it that way until just starting to articulate it now, because at first I didn't like it because I was like, why are we basically saying that Sapphire is conflicted about beating the shit out of this person who, like, clearly
we
outside,
have no storyline reason for her to be conflicted with Anita Vaughan.
And
they literally wrestled each other like
not
long before Christmas in the 229, and Sapphire beat the shit out of her.
But they also, in Southampton, Sapphire said, we've gone too far, we're better than that. So is this how they're going to get that? So I think they've got a really fine line to balance here. If they're going with Hyperactive, they've got a fine line to balance. It could be that that's how you get to Hyperactive being canon in Rev Pro, that actually Sapphire leaves the Cutthroat Collective. That would be interesting.
I think she will.
But yeah.
I think she's going to get kicked out.
I think everyone's ready to cheer her. But I also find it quite telling that Rev Pro is setting up a lot of women's tag teams now. And I was saying yesterday, I wonder if does Queen of the Ring look different this year? Does Queen, and this is my thought coming out. I know this is where I'm being hyperbolic here, but I said Queen of the Ring, where the tournament is a tag team tournament and the main event is Mercedes versus Danny Luna. Book it for July. Come on. Andy Quilden, Tony Khan, get it booked. Right. Dave, we're down to the final three. Talk to me about Nino Bryant and Leon Cage.
Okay. I was bang up for this match because I've seen every Leon Cage and every Nino Bryant match in Rev Pro so far, up close and personal. I got to sit down with a pair of them beforehand, do an interview with them. I properly invested in it. I absolutely adored how they played with tropes in wrestling during the match.
Yeah.
There were a number of times where they went to do a wrestling trope, but were unable to do it because of the fact that they'd hurt each other so much.
Yeah.
So like the kip up at the same time and stare each other down, which Leon couldn't do because he'd hurt his leg.
Yeah.
Like it was really interesting because it was like we're being told that these two are the future of the business. They are two hot young talents. They want to show one another that they are as good as each other, but they've genuinely hurt each other so much that they can't do the things that they're trying to do. I really, really enjoyed everything. I think it was probably a little bit longer than it needed to be. And it's that's probably a complaint that I've made lots recently with Rev Pro, that matches just feel like there are 1 or 2 kickouts longer than necessary, or 1 or 2 minutes, or 3 or 4 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes longer than necessary. What I will say is this match went from being the one that the crowd were least had least reason to be invested in.
Mm-hmm.
Lio Rush, Djack, Serena Deeb, Zazaya, Robbie X. These were all people in the matches prior to this one. And you've got Leon Cage and Nino Bryant. There's no reason why a casual Doncaster fan should know these boys or be interested in seeing them.
Yeah.
But by the end, they were eating out the palm of their hand. They were getting "This is awesome" chants. They got a huge standing ovation. So any micro criticisms I have of the match and its length, basically irrelevant because the majority of the crowd were lapping it up. I think that the boys did incredibly well. My one thing that was like my little pet peeve was the fact that they'd spent so long in the match kind of sticking their middle finger up at wrestling tropes, but then they put a couple of wrestling tropes in at the end. And so it was a little bit like, you did something that was like really kind of like poetic and then kind of didn't quite see it through to the end. But for me, it was at this point, the best match of the night so far. And I felt like it really, really lifted the crowd. I don't know about you, but when there wasn't a break after the women's gauntlet match, there was a lot of, you could actually hear, I heard families saying, there's going to be a break in a minute, so we'll go and get a drink and you can go to the toilet then. And then when there wasn't a break, there was an audible moan.
I heard a lot of it around my section.
Lifted everybody back up again.
I think when it comes to wrestling, sometimes things like happen with delays. Like we had at High Stakes last year where there was a delay which then impacted further delays, which meant that it took a long time to get people in the building, right? Which meant that the show ended up starting a little bit later, and I think to make up for that, there was no interval, right? So, and that had issues where pacing meant that combined with that, it dragged a little bit at times. Now, I didn't necessarily feel the drag myself. I thought the show was paced quite well, but I would have probably welcomed a break because it was just that sweet spot for me of, if a break was up, I would have taken it, but at the same time, it didn't get me that much. But yeah, I think
it goes to show how much I care about Rev Pro, because I'm sitting there thinking I could really do with some water and I need a wee.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to walk out during the middle of the match.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
A second of the action because that's how much I care. I'd rather just sit there and be like, well, I can cope.
Yeah, I'm with you. So the match itself. First of all, actually, I think we just need to, when we're doing these shows, even if it's 10 minutes, we just need to factor in a break for the bigger shows. I think that's we do it for the regional shows. Like there was people during this match I saw over at the merch tables because they know there's one or two wrestlers over there, so they're going to the merch tables. I don't like that. That's no shade on the wrestlers or anyone or the fans. I get that they want to go there, they want to speak to the wrestlers and whatever, but the focus should be on what's in the ring. Okay. So give that break. Give these people the opportunity to go and do their merch browsing. Also, I'm just going to say right from the beginning, a very orderly queue at the merch table that I've never seen before at the start of the night, where everyone was queuing to go down the line to see what was there. It was very odd, but
it was like a buffet, wasn't it?
It was really weird because I was like, why is everyone queuing for it? Anyway, the match. I thought this was a very good match. I thought this match had so much more depth than I was expecting. And I don't mean that in a rude way whatsoever, but there are two young lads, one who is deceivingly more experienced than you probably would believe in Nino Bryant, and obviously someone who, despite not being as experienced in terms of tenure, in terms of ability, is very experienced in Leon Cage. So these lads delivered a really great match. It had depth. It had joint work on there, limb work in there. It had submission work in there. I was not expecting any of that. Like, it was
how aggressive both of them were, especially Nino.
Yeah, I thought that worked really well. There was a spot where it looked like Nino got injured. And look, I'm just going to say this. I mean, no disrespect to Nino Bryant. There's going to come a time he's going to get injured that I'm probably just going to be like, get up, go. Because he sells things so believably well that you think he is hurt. And that only helps but elevate his performance in the match. I just thought it was really well done, and I thought it was a great way for Leon to finally get the big moment for his big move as well, to get the win as well.
The top 2 matches on the card broke the Rev Pro top 10 that I do each week. So they're in my top 10 matches of the year. This was the only other match on the card that I considered. And effectively, it's really simple. I look at what the 10th match is, which is now Yoshioka versus Ridgeway from Southampton last week. And I think to myself,
that is a bar.
Which one do I think was better? And if it's the new match, then it breaks into the top 10 and I work my way up the list. And if it's not, then it stays off the list. And Ridgeway Yoshioka kept 10th spot for me. But that kind of just goes to show how high the standard is. That this match was as well received as it was, and I can't justify it going in my top 10 matches of the year so far when we're only in April.
This one for me felt like the first Rev Pro show I went to had Will Ospreay versus Ricochet in 2014 time, right? This felt to me like I probably would have done then, where I was like, wow, these guys are so good, they're so young. And that will be nothing on what they go on to do, right? And it'll be I was there for that element of it.
Yeah.
5-10 years down the line, when I'm there for the next and the next and the next, this is going to be a partnership that we're going to talk about. And I think Leon Cage won, but they both won, as corny as that sounds.
Yep, I think that's completely fair, mate.
Right.
So from the top 2 matches, which was your match of the night?
My match of the night, in terms of the actual match, was Michael Okou and Leon Slater. I was going to say ever so slightly, because they were 2 very different types of matches. And in the Kanji Mercedes match, a lot of what got me at the beginning was the entrances as well. Like Mercedes, like Kanji making her entrance, everyone getting it. Like we were stood where we were. We were stood up. We were going for it.
It was quite a sight to be able to see, because obviously where I could see the whole place in front of me. I wasn't at the back row. There were several rows behind me, but I could see all of the north stand, all of the east stand, and all of the seated area, plus maybe 4 rows in front of me. And it really, like the goosebump moment of being like, you feel it, like the old tap the arm. It was like that when Kanji came out, and again when Mercedes came out.
Yeah, I think you know what, as a fan base, we gave a really good credit to Kanji in terms of making sure like she felt the love. Like it was a big moment for her. We made sure to show her that, and I think we did the same with Mercedes as well. Like, what was really funny was during Mercedes' entrance, because it was just that much going on, my Fitbit vibrated. I was like, what's that going off? I completed on my Fitbit. You have this thing called active minutes, and you have to be within a certain heart rate zone for it to include. It's basically like exercise. So for Mercedes' entrance, my heart rate had spiked with everything going on and where we were, that I got my remaining active minutes from the whole Kanji entrance through to Mercedes. But you want me to tell you, with the Michael Oku and Leon Slater, do I think in ring they were vastly different in terms of quality? No, I don't. Okay, it was a coin flip in terms of that. For me, it was the story going into it, the match, and the drama at the end. Right? I'm gonna say something that is gonna sound like it's like discrediting and disingenuous. It's not meant to. It's actually quite the opposite. Right? This was fed bullshit in the best way. Right? Like this was Super Cena overcoming the odds. Right? The match was amazing. I thought they played out so well. I had it bought that Leon was going to win on multiple occasions, right? The little details. Michael Okou comes out, and you see him looking right now. At first, I was like, when the gauntlet match was on, I was like, this is an odd placement for me because I expected that before the main. I thought you might have Okou, Leon, followed by a bit of a clusterfuck kind of match, followed by the title match, right? Something in there. But of course, Amira was part of that gauntlet. So it's like, that disqualifies Amira from being out there with Michael. And Liam was with Leon. I was like, okay, that's interesting. So you see Michael looking for her. She's not there.
Just and like to put Liam Slater over for being such an incredible second at ringside.
He was great. Yeah, he was really great.
He added so much to the match without taking any of the attention away from what was happening in the ring and trying to get it on him.
Yeah, agreed. I thought he was really great. You could hear him like coaching Leon throughout. And there was just times when Michael looked like he was done, right? So I'm not going to comment too much on the actual like quality of the match of the in-ring because we all saw it. We all know how good that. Like, if you haven't seen this, go and watch it. It was just two of the best in the world who people will look at them and go, oh, they're just high flyers. They're just this. These guys are so multifaceted on what they do. Leon has evolved from this high-flying guy who is now such a great technician and striker. Michael can do it all as well. And the way they played on the single leg crab from Leon Slater, and that was top 2 in terms of atmosphere I'd ever experienced in that building, right? So I've had a lot of nights in that building. The top that I ever had was Boisterous Behavior winning the tag team titles for 1PW in there. That was on the level. Everyone was chanting tap at Michael Okou. Like, this was insane.
I'll be honest now. I really wanted Okou to tap out.
So did I.
And I can't think of a time when I've ever wanted Michael Okou to lose a wrestling match.
Same. I was chanting tap like everyone else was. And then Amira comes out, right? Amira summed it up best to me when I went over to speak to them at the merch table. She went, everyone loved me earlier, and then they booed me. And well, I was like, sorry, I was one of those people booing you. I was like, I never thought I'd boo you guys. I said in that moment,
turning.
Yeah, it's coming, and I get that vindication.
At such a beautiful pace.
Yeah, so
because this is going to be one of those things where you end up looking at a 6-month video package of all the telltale signs that they were turning.
Yeah. When I was at the merch table, Amira was like, I don't know why they all turned on us. And he said something like, they just can't stand love, or something like that, right? And I love that. But like,
because that is so completely like, what's the right word? That's such a weird and like incorrect take on it that it's kind of like he's so lost in his own world that is so far removed from everybody else's world.
Yeah.
That's how he's perceiving it. It's the sort of thing you'd expect Kanye West to say. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, with the Kardashian girl, like, just...
I'm with you, mate. Yeah, I'm with you on that completely. And just seeing when Amira came out, like, he pulled him back for the 3rd time. And you're like, he's got to tap now, right? He has to tap. Like, we know wrestling tropes. Like, that is one pull too many to not have it. And Amira comes out and she's willing him over, and he just has the strength to do it. And when I say fed bullshit in the best way, that's what I mean. Like, just this over the top. Like, oh my God. Like, they've just had that amazing match, and now they're doing this. But again, this is really feeding into narrative. You're like, I know he's going to retain now. And it's going to be glorious to see where it goes off the back of it, because you have boos raining down on Amira and Okou. And I apologise in advance to Amira for this comparison. But when Michael's sitting there with the title, and he was looking like he was crying as well, which great little move there. But she looked like Gollum looking at the title, like the My Precious, like just this air of just this air of this is ours. And I think she was like, I was trying to lip read, and I think she's like, we did it, and it was like this. Yeah, she's aware of that. The Amira now is very aware of her part she plays in the title defenses for Michael.
Yeah,
Amira before was there to support him.
It was really excellent.
It didn't feel like 33 minutes had gone by. Did not feel like
no,
that at all.
I was really surprised at that.
I think
it's third for me as Rev Pro match of the year. Just behind Young Guns winning the tag titles at Epic Encounter.
Yeah.
And because the main event, Mercedes versus Kanji, takes my match of the year.
That's fair. I'm just going to say my final thing on this match then before we got into that. I loved the inclusion of Liam Slater in this, right?
Me too.
Do you know what it reminded me of a little bit? It reminds me a little bit of Shawn Michaels on his route to Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12, right? Forget the bollocks match that followed afterwards that everyone pretended they like. But Jose Lothario coaching Shawn Michaels to finally win the big one. That's the story I want to see now. I want to see Leon Slater winning this title. And the first step that I want to see, whenever they're next in Sheffield, I want to see Liam Slater beating Leon Slater. And then have him build up to that. That's what I want to see. And hey,
so
look.
Do you want Okou versus Leon at the anniversary show? Leon winning?
Yes.
Leon winning the Revolution Rumble?
Leon winning the Revolution Rumble. Yeah. And look,
here's a problem I have. I want that match too. And I feel that's the right story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like the right story to tell is to run Mercedes versus Kanji back at the anniversary and have Kanji win. But then you've basically just copied and pasted the best two matches that you've run of the year at the anniversary show, and people aren't going to like that.
Yeah, and look, here's the other thing as well.
I'm still not convinced that Mercedes wrestles the anniversary show.
Oh, see, I think she does. Yeah, I think she wrestles night one.
I look at it purely from a point of view that why would Tony Khan let her? He wants her to wrestle on Sunday at one of his biggest shows of the year. He doesn't let her run the risk of getting hurt the night before or the night before that.
I think it'll be the Friday night, and I think it'll be a triple threat or a fatal 4-way or something that can really limit her in ring time. That's what I think happens there.
If it happens, then I will be very, very impressed at how giving Tony Khan is to Rev Pro.
Remember as well,
I don't think it will happen because I don't think Tony Khan will be that giving to Rev Pro, because I wouldn't be. There's no criticism of Tony Khan.
No, not at all.
If I was in his hands.
The key thing to also consider, without going into a lot of detail, the wider wrestling world is changing at the moment, and there's going to be some elements of Brit Rest that will feed into that for sure. But also there's going to be a lot of spite on Tony Khan's side, I imagine. So I could see him literally doing it for that as well. To be like, you know what? I'm boosting our partners here as well. So I'm with you. Like, you're completely right, and I think it is a risk to do. But whether we get like an Orange Cassidy situation where she comes in, or do they have a like a scramble for the time? I don't know. But I think
there is a way of doing it, isn't there, that protects her very much so, like the Orange Cassidy match.
I think,
but then I'm not sure that that's what you want main event in your anniversary show.
I think,
and I don't think Mercedes Monet can be on a card for Rev Pro and not be in the main event.
I think we see Alex Windsor pinning Danny Luna in a triple threat at the anniversary show now. I think that's how we get there. I don't know how we get there with Windsor, but...
So, again, just kind of... I don't want to see Alex Windsor as Rev Pro champion. Currently. I had that for 2 years.
Yeah.
I had that for a really, really long time. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think that Alex, with the belt, offers something new like Kanji with the belt does.
The reason I would... Sorry, I was just going to say...
Sorry, mate, go.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, the reason that I would put on Windsor, just to kind of get across your point, is so that it can eventually be transitional onto Kanji to have a long reign afterwards.
Yeah, my worry will be that the momentum that they have developed with Kanji, by the time they put the belt on her, will have been lost.
That's fair.
Because if you're talking about another 4 months till Windsor wins the title, and then at least another 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, what, Uprising in December maybe?
Yeah, that was my thought.
Like that's, I suppose actually, it's not that long away. And do you know what? Let's make this clear. The fact that I am sounding like a little Debbie Downer on this at the moment and like being really negative is how invested I am in Kanji because of how well Rev Pro and Kanji have built her.
Yeah.
And I've also then got to factor in the fact that Rev Pro have got loads of precedents of maintaining people's like buzz for a really long time.
Yeah.
I just said 5 minutes ago that I booed Michael. You know, I wanted someone to beat Michael Okou for the first time.
Yeah.
Well, I've just watched my like 80th Michael Okou match.
Yeah.
So if the first time out of 80 matches I wanted somebody to beat him, I should trust the process that little bit more.
Yeah.
I must say, Mercedes versus Kanji, there was, I think, in terms of just how good these women wrestle, Mercedes Monet, if anyone does not believe that she is one of the finest wrestlers of all time, regardless of gender, regardless of who she's wrestling for, I just don't see what you're seeing that I'm not, because I think she's incredible. Kanji didn't go toe-to-toe with her like Didn't the Girl Do Well. She went toe-to-toe with her completely authentically and believably.
Yes.
And there was a period of the match that I literally was just sitting and watching, thinking, I don't know what's happening here, and I've never seen this before, and I'm just enamored with it. There was a spell. It felt like it lasted 5 minutes. Maybe we'll watch it back and it lasted 1. But there was a spell when they were on the mat and they were countering each other and trying to get each other into a hold. And it was just like, I've just watched Bloodsport. I've just watched like a 3-hour show of wrestlers doing like, you know, shoot MMA and worked shoot MMA and all this, you know. This was better than anything that was on there. Like, this was Zack Sabre Jr., Jonathan Gresham levels. You know, like 2 of the people that are renowned for it as being, you know, it's what they do. You know, if you book Jonathan Gresham, it's because you want a technical masterpiece.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It was so different to any Kanji match I've ever seen. It was so different to any Mercedes Monet match or Sasha Banks match that I've ever seen. But it didn't feel like it was different for the sake of being different. It felt like it was completely authentic and true to itself, and I adored it.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there with the authentic. And look, when we're talking about Mercedes, I think there's a couple of schools of thought of people. So you've got the people who see her for what she is, and that is a fucking great wrestler, right? You've got people who were in the camp that I used to be in when she was in WWE main roster. I loved her in NXT, but in main roster, she got a bit lost in who she was, what her character was, whether she was a face, whether she was a heel. And I think there was a period of time where she was maybe a bit reckless with herself that meant the matches weren't quite as good because there just wasn't as much control in what she was doing, and the psychology of it suffered a little bit. Okay. And I thought, well, she's got the character work, but that kind of went down for me a bit. But since leaving WWE, I feel the work that she's done, and she's clearly put the time in, refound the love for the game, really. Like, because you could see from stuff that she would put out there, that maybe there was an element of falling out of love with it a little bit, because the other option of why people don't like her is they think they know who she is, right? There's this, like, I see it a lot on the Rev Pro Facebook group, Mercedes Hogan, right? Because the woman is winning matches, right? She is a top level pro wrestler. They would not be saying this about Roman Reigns if Roman Reigns was coming over to do this, right? But Mercedes, they feel
there's
like
a lot of bad faith takes in wrestling, isn't there?
there absolutely is.
Everyone's got an opinion, and a lot of the loudest people either know the least or actually have the least information going into it. They don't. You know, I'd love to know if those people have actually watched her New Japan matches.
No, they haven't. Let's be honest, they haven't.
If they've or if they just watch highlights.
Yeah.
The number of people that give an opinion on a match when they only watch the highlights of the match does my nut in.
Oh, same. I've already had someone. I posted a video of a really good exchange between the two, and I posted it on Twitter because I was like, "This is great, right?" And I've had someone say, "Oh, this was a bit sloppy on such and such part," and it's not. It's they're going through holds, but actually, if you watch it, it's a struggle. Yeah, like it's a struggle. It shouldn't be clean and crisp.
Wrong, right? When people say something's sloppy, the number of times when people say something sloppy and it's like you're just trying to pretend like you know what it should exactly look like.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the stuff that looks sloppy is what represents the struggle. That's what makes 100%. It look real.
100%.
Because in the same breath, we're saying, oh, that's far too choreographed.
Yeah.
That's far too clean. That's far too coordinated between the two people.
100%.
It's far too collaborative.
Yeah.
So the opposite, like we had a couple of times yesterday in matches.
I was going to say Leo with Caven.
There was one with Leo and Caven.
Yeah.
There was one with Djack and Ricky, and there was one with Leon and Okou, where the person struggled to go into the spot they'd planned because the lifting the person up didn't go quite perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, adds to the struggle. Yeah, it's supposed to look like a fight.
Easy.
Yeah.
If 100%. I came up to you now and tried to pick you up for a powerbomb, and I did it in the very, very first take, that's not believable.
No, not at all. Not at all, mate.
You're
right.
You should be trying to prevent me from doing it, and I should be struggling to lift you up.
Exactly. And that's kind of what that gets me. It's that element of it, and I've had the trolls of who are these two nobodies in the gym, and it's like I just wish people would, be like, take off your tribalism. Like there is a lot of great wrestling out here if you are like happy to experience it, right? And if you enjoy one particular product, whether that is AEW, whether that's WWE, Rev Pro, GCW, you know what? I fucking love that for you because like you've got something you really like. But I feel sorry for people that won't give this match a go because there was something special about this match. Mercedes wasn't the big star here who Kanji had to fight up to. Kanji was her equal. Kanji was on par with her. I loved it. And there was this gasp and groan when Kanji tapped out. Like people were like, what?
Yeah.
What? Like it was so superbly done. I felt Mercedes
was so there's a hell of a story coming out of it.
Yeah, there is. And
because now Kanji all that beautiful work that Kanji did in the Graps on Film vignettes that were playing at the start, the documentary. She was doing character work whilst being completely herself.
Yes.
She was showing how vulnerable she is and how much self-doubt there is.
Yeah.
And now she can lean into that in the work that goes forward.
Absolutely. Also,
we now see her struggling to come to terms with how close she came to winning the title.
Yeah. One of the things that really grabbed
her own little redemption story.
Yeah.
Of building that confidence back up.
Yeah. One of the things that grabbed me on that when you were just saying it actually, and I noticed at the end, was I don't know how much you picked up on this because I could hear Mercedes saying it, but she was holding Kanji up and Kanji picked the belts up and she went, they're mine. And actually, the first one, it was the Queen of Southside title. And she went, that's mine. And I was like,
yeah.
Huh. So I'm not saying that that's not the route to go, because there we go. There's that breadcrumb there. I thought it was tremendous. And that is going to be, out of all the matches to go back and watch.
They left enough on the table.
Yeah.
For me to want to watch another match.
Yeah, absolutely. For all of them.
This is where a 20-minute main event instead of a 30-minute main event actually benefited.
I agreed. Yeah, agreed. And that's it. Like when I said the other match, Okou and Leon just tipped it for me. That is like I said, the thinnest, razor thin margins because of the story element at the end. But we got an amazing moment here as well. So I think that's as I stand now. I think the Okou and Leon match, for me, of matches I've seen live, is somewhere in my top 2 to 3 of any Rev Pro matches live ever. As it stands right now in my mind. And Kanji and Mercedes has got to feature up there somewhere. So the immediate 2 ahead of that are the 6-Star Classic and Luke Ishii. They're the ones just off of like thinking about it. I'm going to come back to this in a couple of months' time and watch both of these matches. I'm not going to watch them now. Maybe I might not watch them till around coming up to the anniversary show, because I feel like these are matches that need to breathe in my mind a little bit and then go back and watch them and go, right, how did I actually feel about them? But I don't think this is going to be a case of me coming into it and going, like, I'm going to see flaws in them that I didn't see live. I think actually they're just going to age better.
Yep, I agree, mate. I agree. Go
Wonderful.
And watch Revolution Pro Wrestling's High Stakes on Rev Pro on Demand.
Absolutely. Indeed, my friend. Right. I think that's a good place to
end it. My friend.
I'm gonna get some editing done now, mate, and then I'm gonna go on holiday. And well, I'm going to the hotel.
Budapest.
Thank you, mate. I'm going to the hotel tonight.
I'm going to watch WrestleMania Night 2.
I'm gonna go and get in the car to the hotel and sleep. That's what I'm gonna do. Right. Until next time, guys. See you later.
Love you, bro.